Welcome, friends, it's the MovieFilm Podcast. MovieFilm Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about the movies. MovieFilm Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to MovieFilm. This is episode 232, brought to you by Mr. Boy Productions. I am Zachy Hassan. Who are you?
I'm Brian Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
You know me.
I do know you. I know your
You know
name.
my name. Still got Casino Royale on the brain.
It's that time of the I was going to say the year, but that's not right. It's that time of when a movie is about to come out when, like, James Bond is just my only playlist. So it's all the Bond songs on shuffle.
Yeah, and likewise, it's for us over here, it's been the movies. Just seeing all the ones we haven't seen yet, going through the Craig ones.
So which ones have you watched?
Well, it hasn't changed since the last episode.
Okay,
that said,
that's
our
exciting.
intentions are good.
Your intentions-
We were trying to quickly map out how we could wrap up all the Craig ones before we see No Time to Die in the next couple days. But I believe in us. I believe we'll do it.
You have watched Casino Royale, and that's it as of now.
That's it.
Okay.
But it's still a couple days away. We got some time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, truthfully, I feel like if you're in a crunch, I feel like Spectre is probably the only one you really need to watch.
Right. Yeah, I think you said, right, it pretty much directly leads into this next one.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of them matter, but I feel like you Spectre, because it's been long enough, because we talked about it. You know, I was thinking, by the way, think about this. Since the last James Bond movie, there has been an entire Star Wars trilogy that came out.
What? Is that... Wait. When did Spectre come out?
It came out in November of 15.
Wow. That's a good little point of trivia.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
We did it. We were disappointed. We moved on. We've been through all the stages of grief while James Bond was still taking a dump.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I certainly need to revisit Spectre because I haven't seen it since then.
It's been long enough. I feel like that one is worth a look. And I can't remember if I said this to you on or off mic, but I think Honor Majesty's Secret Service would not be a bad one to revisit.
I do remember you saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then, but it's funny because after finishing Casino Royale, I kind of want to take that and continue on that emotional journey,
right.
Like the revenge tale of the next one. And like, I kind of want to go for the whole roller coaster ride, but
sure,
we'll see.
Well, keep me posted. I'm looking forward to you not having progressed next time.
Yeah.
I'm hunkered down.
It's too bad this isn't video. Do you remember that? I think it was a later Simpsons. Well, later for me, where Homer's lying to Marge and his pupil like darts right and left before he answers. Yes. But it's like really subtle. She's like, "Are you lying?" And his pupil darts again. No, like that's gonna be me next week. Like, so did you finish the Craig series of Bond films? I'm like, yeah, or more like, it'll be like non words. Zuh.
Well, if that turns out to be the case, Brian, I will cry.
Well,
but I will not cry macho.
Oh, well, it's funny you bring that up, Zachy, that common turn of phrase, because I just watched a movie called Cry Macho, which I thought was on the nose because everyone says it so often, but I was like, well. So I'm the guy that watched Cry Macho on HBO Max.
This is the movie that Clint Eastwood came back to life to act in. Because I'm pretty sure he died several years ago and he doesn't realize it.
It's quite possible. I mean, he's what, 90 plus at least, right? 91, correct. 92, something like that.
Yes.
And so I don't know. Look, I had heard that this movie is very middle of the road, but there was just something about it. I liked the setting. I liked the dustiness. I was just sort of into seeing some sort of aged, tough guy having to adopt some sensitivity, and there's a boy and him on the road. I was like, it's, and I'll be honest, it's on HBO Max. I was like, I know it's not gonna be great, but I'm here for this world. Let's go. And oh my gosh, dude, it's not good, and
Okay.
it's a shame because I think the story is basically, he lost his wife and he becomes a drunk, and then somewhere along the way, Dwight Yoakam, who runs like a rodeo or something and has all these horses, he brings him in, even though he's a sad sack and he's not capable, but he like pays him and gives him sort of a life. And so then at some point he's like, hey, I have this boy who's down in Mexico and his mother's kind of taking him from me, and I want you to go down there and bring him back for me.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, let's do this, but that's basically the plot. So he goes down there, finds the boy. The mother doesn't want him to go, so she sends like henchmen to try to stop them along the way. But dude, I knew I was in for a rough ride. The first 5 minutes where Dwight Yoakam, who I like Dwight Yoakam, I certainly like him as a singer, but as an actor, I feel like he can be. It depends if a director knows how to use him.
So as an actor, you like him as a singer?
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like he's been good before, but he was so. I blame the script, if I'm being honest, and possibly a director who thinks that first takes are fine.
Right.
He has like the worst exposition in the first 5 to 10 minutes of this movie, where he's basically like, look, man, you were all washed up and in the bottle, but I brought you in. And so what I need you to do is I have a boy and he's in Mexico and every boy needs a father. And I was like, ugh, like it was so stilted. You know what it was? It's what you write on a napkin when you're coming up with the plot and then you write the script eventually. Like, it was like he was reading what the guy had scribbled that the plot was on a napkin. Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It was rough. And so I was like, ugh.
I was not expecting this.
No, and then Federica left. it was me on my own.
She left you like that. It's like, forget it.
No, I was like, I don't blame you, but I'm going on this journey.
You're sitting there leaning forward watching as the door slams behind you.
What's that, dear? The door shuts. But it was, I personally didn't regret watching it because I chose to set aside 2 hours to live in this dusty old man and a boy story. But I can fully tell you it's not good. And like, it's a bummer because I think, I've heard stories also where someone will turn in like a first or second draft of a script and he's like, let's shoot. And like, I think if this script had been massaged a little bit, I think there's something there. I mean, this is a movie that apparently was pitched to him like 30 years ago or more. Wow. And it didn't work out. And now he comes to it as like a 90-year-old guy. And, so, maybe there's also a little bit of forgiveness also where you're like, well, he's old, like you're sort of cutting him some slack or something. But,
you know what's crazy to me, Brian? Here's a thought. As I'm listening to you, and I'm like, first of all, Clint is 90 plus. He's still making movies. He's still doing his thing. God bless Clint Eastwood.
Yes,
good for you. That I can only hope to have that much, just joy to be at any point in my life at this moment. To be honest,
I know.
Right. So God bless him for that. However, when you think about it, I'm just thinking about how long Clint Eastwood has been like a capital S star, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A Fistful of Dollars was 1964.
Wow.
So 1964 is Fistful of Dollars, and in Unforgiven, he's doing his guy who's too old for this, going on one last ride.
Yeah.
Okay. So in other words, 28 years until he's the guy who's too old for this. And Unforgiven is 29 years ago.
Right.
So he's been playing the guy who's too old for this, going on one last thing, for longer than he was the guy who was the appropriate age for this.
It's pretty amazing. And his movies have been pretty hit or miss in the past couple decades. There's some I've liked and some I just haven't responded to. Like The Mule. Mule, which I wasn't crazy about. It sort of worked, him being the old guy, because the whole point was no one will suspect him of being a drug mule, right?
Right.
But this one, and again, truly, like, God bless him, and like, it's amazing. And I hope he makes another one. If it's keeping him, excited and he's got another story up his sleeve, I'll probably watch it. But like, this one did, it's like this woman who runs a restaurant, like, kind of falls for him, and she's like 45 years younger than him, like, you sort of, and much has been made of, or at least in the things I've read about this scene where he's like breaking a horse. And I mean, he's over 90. So I'm not saying this is like something understandable, but he's kind of hobbling over to the horse and whatever. And then it cuts to this silhouette of a guy like, yeah, like on top of a horse, and you're like, yeah, I don't know.
It's like Christopher Lee, like lightsaber fighting.
Yeah,
and,
right. Kind of, yeah.
He's like doing jumping jacks or whatever,
Yeah. And, and it's just, there's like a moment too where he has to like take all this stuff out of a car, and I was like yelling to the screen, like to the boy, like, help him, like,
I don't need your help.
Actually, wait, as long as we're doing this, there was a scene, I'm remembering it now, where basically the boy walks out of a restaurant, and these henchmen are gonna take him away and like kind of harass him, and you would think Clint Eastwood would be like, oh no, and like kind of run outside and come up with something clever, and basically he's like, ugh. And he like stands up from his booth, like walks outside. Then this whole thing goes down, and all these other people, nearby people, like take the henchmen out, and instead of them being like, let's go, come on, we should go, like get in the car, he's like, all right. Like they just like, and it stood out to me in the moment, like, hurry. They just kind of, he's like, all right, get in the car. Then he like kind of walks over to the car. So I mean, Cry Macho on HBO Max.
Cry Macho. So Macho left you crying.
Oh wow!
Sorry to hear that.
I wish you had written a whole article just so you could have that headline.
I know.
I was going to get to some TV shows. I will real quick, but I think I'll just stick with the movies real fast. And these are more just passing, like, aren't these great films? But recently I saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit, projected in 35 millimeter, which was a thing. I got to say, I knew that was going to be a lot of fun, but I was like pretty swept up in it. I mean, I've always just really, really loved that movie. It's one of those movies that I love so much that I almost forget about it. And then when I think about it, I'm like, no, I think this might be in like a top 20 at least kind of thing.
Wow.
It's just so damn good. And the story is good. And like they capitalize on every clever joke they can. And it's just, but it was so incredible to see this print. Cause they've obviously, when you put on Blu-ray, and sometimes they tweak some things, particularly with this movie, but, there was a moment at the end where Judge Doom is leaning forward with his sword. He's being drawn toward Eddie who's holding a magnet. And on the big screen, I could see the cables holding him.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, whoa, I've never noticed that before. So that kind of thing was kind of fun. And, there's nothing like watching an old film that so well on a big screen, because you're forced to pay attention in a way that you haven't had to in years. And you reappreciate it all over again. And likewise, oh yeah, go ahead.
I mean, as you talk about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I revisited not that long ago, and obviously the gimmickry and the just the novelty of the premise is something that pulls you in. But probably my favorite scene in that whole movie is when Eddie Valiant, in the beginning of the film, when he goes back to his office.
Yep.
And we get the shot of his brother's desk, and he's looking through the photos. And you have this beautiful music by Alan Silvestri that's like mournful and nostalgic at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you everything you need to know about Eddie Valiant.
Yep. From him and his family being circus performers, which pays off at the end.
Yeah. That
they were detectives. There's that hilarious headline where it says Goofy cleared of all spy charges.
Right.
Right. But then you see, that he was murdered. And like you say, then these strings come in from Alan Silvestri. It's a whole journey.
Yeah.
And it tells you like this poor guy, you know?
I mean, it's something that just hit me differently watching it now.
Yeah. Probably in a way it just couldn't as a kid.
That's exactly right. Just and it's like it's such an important scene, not only in terms of storytelling economy, but the way in which it invests you in Eddie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just, and everything is set up. I mean, from the beginning when they're in that Acme warehouse and you have that the mallet with the punching thing and the holes, the cartoon holes in the wall. Like, it's just, I mean, it's like, Zemeckis at the height of his powers, really.
Yeah.
I just love that movie. And then, I was gonna say, likewise, then I went to an outdoor screening of, where they, like in the park with a big thing for Edward Scissorhands.
Oh, sure.
Man, that is a good movie. I loved that movie when I was a kid. And I've seen it so many times that I don't tend to stop on it on TV because it's like I just know it so well and everything.
Yeah.
But just like I say, being forced to watch it from beginning to end, you're like, I just had this feeling where I was like, cinema, like movies, man, like they're just, I mean, both with Roger Rabbit and Edward Scissorhands, I mean, they just transport you to another place with really deep emotions, like I got teary-eyed at the end of Edward and I hadn't seen it in a long time. And Roger Rabbit, it gets so tense with the dip machine going toward Roger and Jessica and the brothers killer after Eddie and Eddie, it's just, those movies just made me like just well up with this, just like, man, I love movies. So like I just felt like they were worth mentioning and shouting out. And and in a random story I'll severely truncate, they have all these like food trucks at the Scissorhands thing, it's like an outdoor deal. And again, long story short, I was chatting up this woman next to me and she was waiting for her food, and she said, I keep feeling like they're calling my name, but it sounds like it keeps being other people. And I go, what's your name? And I thought she said Mia. And then eventually she left. She took down her mask and said goodbye and whatever. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And it was Nia Vardalos from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I was like, oh, Nia. Right.
This is when Brian's Hollywood Stories.
I know. Well, it's funny because my friend didn't believe me. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure. So we went on her Instagram and she had literally posted, can't wait to see Edward Scissorhands tonight. So I was like, yeah, Nia Vardalos. How about that?
Who is doing a third My Big Fat Greek Wedding, by the way.
Is she really?
She is.
Good for her. She was very friendly. So that was nice.
There you go.
Well, on TV talk, which I don't tend to do very often, I'll just really quickly mention, I'm like watching the most amount of TV shows that I feel like I have in years right now. I'm watching that impeachment show, the Bill Clinton, Monica.
Yeah, how is that? Is that good?
It's okay.
Yeah.
I really loved American Crime Story, the anthology series. I really loved what they did with the OJ thing.
And this is that same anthology.
Same anthology series. And I just felt like they did a really good job of not only dramatizing things that I remembered, but bringing me into sort of a context that I didn't have for that moment. And it was told, like, there's one episode, it's kind of from the juror's point of view. And I just thought that one was really, really well done. And this one, it is keeping me, tuning in week to week, but this one feels a bit more like a Wikipedia summary that's been filmed.
Really? Okay.
And it's not even like the worst thing, but it's just, I don't feel like it's just not operating on the level that the OJ one was, but it's still, I don't know if you feel this, but when these series cover things that you were alive for, that you kind of remember, there's just an inherent interest for me to sort of go back and remember it a little bit and bring 30 years later of context to it all.
And this is Clive Owen as Bill Clinton?
Yes, which is pretty jarring at first.
Okay.
But I've kind of gotten used to it within his universe that's Bill Clinton.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
is it more or less jarring than Cuba Gooding Jr. as OJ?
Actually, that's a great point because they're so different.
Yeah.
I guess I would probably call it the same. Like when you're in that universe, you just, well, that's OJ, and well, that's,
sure.
Kind of a thing. But watching Great British Bake Off on Netflix, all these things that are dropping. But the one I wanted to mention was Only Murders in the Building, which is a Hulu show with Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. And this was one I was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But one night, Federica and I started it, and I love Steve Martin. And I love Martin Short too, but to me, Martin Short is kind of like a mode.
A little goes a long way.
Exactly. And he definitely makes me laugh, but I wasn't sure what he was good. I didn't know what the tone of the show was going to be. And the whole premise is these three people who don't really know each other, but live in this building. They're obsessed with the same true crime podcast, and they discover this about one another, and then someone is murdered in their building, and they all have theories because they've listened to so many of these podcasts. So they decide, well, let's make a podcast about this and we'll solve it. And I have like totally fallen for the show. Like it's a really weird tone. Like it's not an out and out comedy, but it definitely has comedic moments. And there's a crime at stake, and there's a true mystery that they're trying to solve. And even in the first episode, it doesn't really carry through with this, but there's some surreal, sort of like Steve Martin, LA Story kind of stuff going on.
Okay.
But I just love this wacky combination. Like Martin Short, I feel like is perfectly calibrated. Like he feels like he exists as a real human being.
Okay.
In this world, but he's also got the Martin Short twinkle in his eye that makes him say things that are kind of silly. But then other people will look at him and be like, "What is wrong with you?" Kind of a thing. So it's kind of perfect. And you get a little bit of a more dour Steve Martin, and I don't know. It's just it's quirky and it's charming, and it's different than a Netflix show that drops all at the same time. This one comes week to week, and I think it works in favor for me, because then every Monday I'm like, oh, like I get really excited because then there's going to be a new one that night, so yeah. It makes me, that's what's hooking me. Like, oh, I get another little drop in with these guys this week. And so
how many episodes deep are we?
I want to say 8 or 9. I think there's 2 left.
Okay.
Maybe 8.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think there's 10, but I think it's fun. So I thought it was worth mentioning.
There we go.
But the last one I'll talk about was one that dropped and I guess took 90 countries across the planet by storm.
Yeah, the Squid Games, right?
Squid Game.
It's called Squid Game.
Squid Game.
Okay.
Correct. And it's a Korean show, and so you can watch it either dubbed or with subtitles. And I don't know how this. I just saw people talking about it, and sometimes when this happens, I get a little cynical about the Netflix hype machine.
Right.
I think with Bird Box, this happened with me because I heard everyone saying the movie was just fine, but there were so many memes about it. And then I started thinking, I think Netflix is doing this. Like, I think they're either coming up with these memes or they're paying meme people to do this to make everyone believe that this is a phenomenon.
Okay.
And I mean, who knows? I don't know. But so I get a little like, well, we'll see. I'll give it a minute to see if it really has any lasting sort of, if people really love it. And anyway, one night I had a couple hours, so I was like, all right, let's do this. Let's see what it's all about. And in one night I watched 5 episodes.
Wow.
They're an hour each. So I watched 5 hours straight of this show. Yeah, I loved it. And
I gathered.
Yeah, and Federica's sister was here, and she joined me for episode 3, and then she watched the next 3 with me, and the next day she's like, "We doing this?" And like, so she was just as hooked. It's interesting because I know I think it was Casino Royale, we were talking about how we're not horror guys,
right?
And I was trying to think about it because the whole premise of the show is all these people who are desperate for money are invited to play a game, and so about 450 people show up, and they're basically playing playground games. So the first episode is red light, green light. But if you get caught moving, you get shot. Shot dead.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's other episodes where they're playing games, and if you lose, someone comes right up to you with a gun and shoots you in the face.
Good times.
And it's so dark. And it's one of those things we've talked about in previous episodes where I was saying, I feel like we don't see as much straight up gun violence in movies these days because reality is enough of a horror movie in that context. And so we're seeing more sci-fi sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little jarring, honestly, seeing just people shot. And it feels like it wouldn't be my jam because it's almost like a game show that's like Saw or something.
Yeah,
you know?
right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
But there's something in the stew that keeps it this side of like a little bit of a heightened reality. And the people who are running the games are playing these wearing these like bright pink jumpsuits with these masks with, you know, like squares and triangles on their faces and, you know, on these like sort of fencing masks.
Mhm.
And like all, you know, they go through this MC Escher style, you know, pink stairs with green ceilings and something about it. I almost feel like it's pretty genius because it almost shields you from how awful what you're watching is.
Right, right.
And what I didn't quite realize when I started it is this show is very much like Lost, where you eventually focus in on like 5 or 6 people who may or may not be connected, and they have these sort of interesting backstories, and you understand why they're so desperate that they're willing to subject themselves to these things, and then you start to root for all of them. And there's villains that you hate, and you know, there's an old man in there that you just want to like put your arms around and protect, and you know, so yeah, I mean, I'd have to put a little warning that if you think you might be sensitive to just seeing a lot of like gunfire and like people being straight up shot and killed, like I think it might be slightly triggering for some people, but I don't know how it worked for me, but it did, and I was just hooked. And so, like I say, I watched 9 episodes in 48 hours. So yeah, I mean, if that sounds up your alley and sounds intriguing, like a really violent Lost, yeah, Squid Game. I loved it.
Well, I'll just say one thing that I saw, just dipping back into the archives a little bit. I revisited The Negotiator, having recently talked about it with you on one of our episodes.
Right.
I was like, hey, you know, I haven't seen it. I watched it in the theater in 1998.
Wow.
It's the last time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a virtually new experience for me. The only thing I remembered was Sam Jackson being like, "You want my blood?"
Yeah. Oh wait, maybe I'm thinking of A Time to Kill. Something about I hope they die and burn in hell.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Okay,
that's the. Come on, man.
That's yeah.
Get your innocent Sam Jackson being railroaded by a corrupt justice system movies in check, will you?
Yeah.
Embarrassing yourself.
No. You're embarrassing yourself, Brian.
No, it is a perfect Friday night at home.
Mm-hmm.
Put some popcorn on kind of movie. You know, you got your twists, you got your turns, you got your Kevin Spacey, which is slightly awkward now. But other than that,
right.
It's a movie whose cast is verily replete with hey that guys.
Yeah, a lot of character actors in that.
It is a bumper crop of hey that guys.
Mm-hmm.
Many of whom are no longer on this mortal coil, so it's extra poignant.
Right.
You got your J.T. Walsh, you got your John Spencer, you got who else we got in there? Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti, huh?
Michael Cudlitz is in there.
Yeah.
I mean, all these, a bunch of, you know.
What is that actress's name? Sibion. I feel terrible because I can never pronounce her name, but she plays the woman in Men in Black, the wife in Edgar, her husband.
Yes, that's right. Oh my gosh, what's her name? Wait, hold on. Is it?
It's
Siobhan Hogan.
Oh, maybe that's it. I feel bad, but yeah, she's classic.
Who's wearing a Edgar suit?
Yeah.
Yes, Siobhan Hogan.
Yeah.
Siobhan Fallon Hogan. Yeah, she's in there. I mean, it's so deliciously old-fashioned.
Sure.
In terms of what we have now, right?
Right.
It is just a complete. It's just a complete throwback, and it. I'm assuming for many people listening, it's one of those. Oh, I saw that a while ago. Like it has enough twists and turns where it kind of keeps you engaged, even though probably things will end up okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it.
I might. Off of this, I think maybe I'll look this one up. I gotta revisit that.
Another revisit that I did. This is from the following year, Galaxy Quest.
That's one of those movies that is definitely beloved by
Yes.
like a subset of people, or maybe a generation of people.
But
And
not me, right, Brian?
I just kind of missed it. Like
Interesting.
I don't recall seeing it when it came out.
Okay.
And then I knew it was beloved, and I watched it, and I remember being like entertained by it, but I don't really even remember it very well. And I keep feeling compelled, because even in all these writers' rooms I'm in, people reference it all the time. So I'm like, I gotta go back and reacquaint myself with that.
You know, I think for me, Galaxy Quest works for the same reason Ghostbusters works.
Mm,
It has this perfect balance of tone, and I would think of Ghostbusters even if Sigourney Weaver wasn't in it.
mm,
But it's really like it's this really tightrope of a thing, you know,
right.
where you have characters who are funny, but you still have to have a situation that is serious. And how do you balance
Mm,
that? So yes, it is a comedy, but it is also an action movie, you know?
right.
And it's tricky because it needs to hit certain bases. And so it had been long enough since I'd seen it that this is one where, like, you know, my older kids have seen it, but my younger kids had not. So they're like,
Mhm.
oh, we want, you know, and I was like able to appreciate it all over again. And I remember very distinctly going to see it at the AMC, the Cantera,
Mhm.
way back in the day. This is like Christmas of '99, I believe.
Okay.
Um, no, it would have been like early because it opened December 25th. So
Oh,
yeah, maybe it was Christmas of '99, right around then. Wow. But yeah,
99, quite a year.
that was a good year, best movie year ever, right?
I gotta read that book. Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good one. But yeah, check that out. You know, maybe you find something new in it, and maybe you don't. In which case, you learn something about yourself. You learn what a shitty person you are, and that's good to know too, Brian. I think
As it ends, I'm like, oh no.
I am shitty.
Yeah. I should call my parents. Yeah. Did they know? Why did you tell me? Yeah. They're like, oh, Brian.
I picture your mom is like on the phone, and she kind of glances at your dad, and he kind of does like a shrug sign, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I guess
Said we
it's
should have
time."
told him. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's obviously it's like a parody of Star Trek. I feel like the gist is, what if aliens thought William Shatner was really Captain Kirk?
Right.
Which is, when you think about it, that's such a brilliant pitch for a movie,
Totally.
right? And arguably, this is like the best role Tim Allen ever had in the movies, notwithstanding Buzz Lightyear,
Right.
because he's really good in it, you know.
Mhm.
So it's enjoyable, but it is an artifact. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Rickman, and yeah, that's
He is so good in this.
yeah.
Like I to me, his arc. I mean, you know, he's having to wear this ridiculous thing, and he, you know, oh, say the line, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just miserable, you know, by Gropth's hammer, you know, and he has that delivery, just so sardonic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like is that, yes, the movie, like, that's a joke, but they find a way to make to give him an arc, you know, where there's real poignancy
Right.
to his journey, and I'm like, that's a trick.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me, a movie like Galaxy Quest lives in the same kind of heightened reality as, like, as I said, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, you know, where the situation is quote unquote real,
Right.
even as the characters are humorous,
Right.
and that's hard to do, and it's something that is harder to pull off.
See, I think you this is where we're different. You lean toward like the Back to the Futures and the Ghostbusters. For me, it's evolution. You know, I'd probably
Man,
think of that before I ever thought of the films Back to the Future and Ghostbusters.
we talked about that, right? How, like, it was my first time watching it relatively recently,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was baffled by the love people have for that movie.
Yeah, I don't think I finished it.
Yeah, I think that's my recollections. You're like, nope, done.
Yeah.
Nope, out.
Yeah. I didn't have the youthful sort of nostalgia for it. So I
It,
didn't have
yeah,
anything helping me along.
completely passed me by. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's take a short break. Come back and talk through some listener letters. Hey, we're back, Brian.
Hey.
Thank you so much to the makers of whatever that product was that you heard the ad for.
I use it all the time.
God, I hope it's appropriate. All right, so hey, we got a couple new reviews up on Apple Podcasts that I wanted to share with you.
Oh, okay. Thank you in advance. That's taking the time. Appreciate it.
You better hold your thanks.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding. No, this is great. This is great. I'm sincerely grateful. So this is from Marshall Perry, who says, "What makes a great movie podcast? Deep knowledge, respectful criticism, and well-timed humor. MovieFilm exceeds in all these categories, but that is not what makes it great. No, Brian. There's a certain something you can't fake or produce. Friendship.
aw.
The greatest ship of all, Brian, friendship.
Yeah, that's right. The only ship worth a damn.
That's right. Zachy and Brian keep me salivating for more content, not because of the well-timed yet obscure Simpsons references, or the way Zachy can make you rethink how you feel about a film with his deep insight. Well, thank you for that. But the way their interactions aren't forced. The banter between these two works so well, you will hate your own friends for not being as tight with you as these two are. Look at that shit. Yeah. In a world filled with hyperbolic emotional criticism, nothing is more soothing than a man who can confidently say, Prince of Persia is totally fine. Check it out. That is my review of that movie. Somebody once commented that they are a modern-day Siskel and Ebert, and I couldn't agree more. In the end, I guess you could say my feelings about the Movie Film Podcast are best summed up in the form of a limerick. Tommy Lee Jones says, "Come get me." Zachy's impressions are uncanny, but my stitches tear every time I hear, "Pardon me, m'lady."
I love it. Thank you, Marshall. Wow, that was a journey. I was like, I was really touched, and then I was laughing, and then the limerick at the end. Oh my goodness!
And the great thing about this is people don't realize that you and I hate each other.
Yeah, I know. These are characters that we play.
These are exactly right. This is a very elaborate, long game.
Yeah. We get off, and we're just like, "Oi, I've got to talk to that Zachy fella again."
Yeah. It's this is our own Squid Game that we're playing here.
That's right. That's right.
That's what's happening there.
And I'm not sure for Marshall. I'm not sure if we just got Jeff Canada'd with the limerick. Best summed up in a form of limerick. But if that is the case, then I salute.
There we go. Here's another one. This is from Belly Floppity.
I love it.
Yeah. He says, "This is my most listened to podcast. Zachy and Brian have a real friendship that comes through clearly on the show, and it's awesome to listen to. I find that with their movie commentaries, they do research and have great insights to provide. Also good to know these guys are cut from an 80s and 90s cloth, so if you're like me and were born sometime in the 80s, then you'll probably relate to a lot of their personal tastes."
Huh.
That's nice.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and I like doing the commentaries, and especially when they're movies that I know a lot about and am passionate about, because I know I'll have a lot of enthusiasm. And sometimes when we have a movie that I'm not as familiar with, I get kind of nervous because I'm like, I want to make sure that this is worth people's time. So him or her saying that really means a lot to me, that they feel that the commentaries always come across as something worth listening to. So I'm going to take that compliment, and that's going to feed me for the next several commentaries. So thank you.
Well, there we go. It's very nice if people say that they enjoy hearing us sort of bullshit about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because that was the whole reason we started doing this. Was like, hey, I like talking about movies.
Mm-hmm.
You like talking about movies.
Mm-hmm.
How about hear me out? And this was back when podcasting was not as ubiquitous as it is now.
Not what it is now, no.
Yeah, it was a thing, but not as much of a thing. And here we are. Yeah,
I mean, we were doing the show in real life. That was just us talking, and then we were like, why don't we just record this?
I always say what's funny to me is now we have. We talk all the time via text and whatever, but people don't realize that when we get on mic and do the show, we usually just kind of click in and just start doing it. So we have our topic list and whatever, and we make an effort now more so to catch up with each other's lives,
mm-hmm.
right? And I feel like that's important.
I would say, and I'm being serious, that's been the greatest gift of this podcast is I know we would be texting each other and we'd be visiting each other once a year or something like that. But like, I think we are better friends than we would have ever been. Getting to talk every single week, because we also do like a little personal catch up for like 20 some minutes or 30 minutes before we start. So it's, yeah. I that people even sort of feel the friendship coming through. I mean, I'm really thankful for that.
Well, and here's a story. I feel like this has been long enough now. We can kind of tell the story.
Sure.
And Brian, feel free to edit this later if you can't tell. But a while ago, Brian had been seeing somebody, and I get a text. No, Brian calls me. He's like, "Hey, Zachy, just so you know, me and so and so we broke up." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that." And what's that?
I think I know where this is going.
I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You okay?" Yeah, I'm okay. I just want to let you know. Oh, okay. And I don't think anything of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope he's okay, you know. And it turns out the reason for the call was that Brian had broken up a while ago.
Right.
And my wife wished his ex-girlfriend a happy birthday and said something to the effect of like, "Hey, when are you and Brian going to come visit us?" or something to that effect. Right. And the funny thing is that Brian was like, it wasn't like, "Oh, I don't want to tell Zachy," but it's just we get into our mode. We just do the show.
Yeah.
And so after that, I was like, "Hey, maybe we should just like sort of catch up." Just, on the off chance.
Yeah, you have anything you need to share with me?
Because I think I inadvertently I got Brian in more trouble. Like, you didn't tell Zachy,
Yeah. Hey, lessons were learned. Friendships were forged even further.
Everything worked out for the best, which is why I feel comfortable telling this story.
Yeah.
But I do remember that, like getting the phone call, like, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, that's fine." And I didn't realize that there was a whole backstory that led up to you telling me that.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, like you say, I mean, we used to just, it's almost like clicking right in, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you good? All right, here, hit. Hey, blah, 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 just talk about what's on the list and banter. But yeah, no, but yeah, I do like our catch-ups before we even get started now.
I think that's just good. That's just good human interaction. And God knows we need that, don't we?
Agreed.
We really do. All right. Hey, there's a new trailer out, Brian.
Oh,
it's pretty cool.
Really? What is it?
It is for the brand new movie Rocky IV, Rocky versus Drago.
I can't. When I heard that Sylvester Stallone was working on a director's cut for Rocky IV, I was like, no way. I mean, Rocky IV is, actually, if people go on Vudu and they go into the reviews section, Zachy's review is posted there. You can see his snippet of his review. And do you remember it? Because you could say it back better than I could. But it is the perfect encapsulation of Rocky IV.
Let me pull it up. I don't remember the exact thing that I said, but
it's worth looking up because it's so perfectly said.
Wait, here it is. Hold on. I'm on Vudu,
which is thrilling, by the way. I think when I watched Rambo, I think your review is on there too. It's on there for a couple movies.
I know I've got my reviews for certain movies where I'm like, that's kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is my review this is a snippet of my review of Rocky IV. It's a bad movie, no doubt, but at the same time, and somewhat paradoxically, it's also a great movie. Figure that one out.
Right.
And I stand by every syllable of that. I just want to say
I wholeheartedly agree with every syllable. And what I was going to say is maybe it may not be quote unquote the best one in the franchise, but I would say it's maybe one of the most beloved.
Yes.
And so it was just surprising that he was going to go back and tinker with it. Like, I'm
not only is he, Brian, he added 40 minutes to Rocky IV.
40 moments. And I think one of the sort of punchlines that people have for Rocky IV is that it's about, half montage, half story.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder then if he's going to build out some of those montages and get some. Maybe there were scenes he's going to.
No, he's just adding 8 more montages.
Right.
That's all. I am so fascinated by this.
Yeah, because serious things happen in the movie, but it also is campy's not the right word, but like I don't know what word you'd use, but it's heightened,
Yeah.
right? So I'm very curious if the tone is going to change.
Right.
Hasn't he said he's going to take the robot out? Which is funny. If you haven't seen Rocky IV, you're like, wait, what? I thought these movies were about boxing.
Yeah. The sentient robot that exists in the middle
that falls in love with his brother-in-law.
I mean, that's so bananas. Like the only thing missing would be like a talking chimpanzee in one of these movies.
Right.
That's just never right in Rocky 3. We get a talking chimp who's never referred to again. That's what it's the equivalent of.
Right.
I'm wondering what 40 minutes more of this movie look like. I have so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
And based on the trailer that was released, I don't think there's a point in playing the audio from that, but there's like alternate takes and of scenes that are already in the movie, right?
I've only watched it once, and it was like on my phone, and I want to watch it again. Yeah, I didn't even notice.
There's different pieces of dialogue. There's and the thought that I had is like, well, part of the editing process there is you look at what's the best take that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so some of it feels like, well, just to make it different, we're putting this in, and that's not, it's sort of like in Superman 2 when Superman shows up at the end, like the version that was released and that we talked through earlier this year is, General, would you care to step outside, is what Superman says, right? And then in the Richard Donner edit, it's, General, don't you believe in freedom of the press?
Right.
Which is, no, he doesn't. Of course, he's a tyrant from Krypton, Superman.
Right.
Dumbass, right? so I feel like there might be some of that going on here.
Sure.
And also, we're not that far removed from the Coppola re-edit of The Godfather Part 3.
Right.
Which, in my opinion, is a lesser version of that movie.
Mm-hmm. And that's saying something.
What's that?
That's saying something.
And I've defended The Godfather.
Yeah.
I'm a bullet taker for that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I am fascinated, absolutely, because this is a movie I know front, back, and sideways. So I'm kind of like anything new I'm interested in. But I'm also, again, I'm like, this is a whatever it is, 90-some minute movie that has, if we're being generous, about 70 minutes of story. So it's already pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what you add to it.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like the story would have to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Like certain sorts of impetuses and whatnot. Like I mean, subplots cut, right? And maybe at the time he was like, people don't want that. They want fighting and a soundtrack and let's make something fun, right? But maybe there's more of a drama in there. I don't know.
Is it more drama or is it more dated?
Yeah.
Like, what, is there like a cat fight between Brigitte Nielsen and Talia Shire that now you look at it, you're like, oh, well, that's.
Well, see, yeah, and then I would hope. I mean,
they're like in a swimming pool, they're pulling hair. It's like something out of Dynasty. You're like, oh, well, yeah, that's why you cut that.
Right.
That was a bad idea,
But I just, Sylvester Stallone, he's a savvy guy. I mean, he's a great writer, so it's, I think he's a smart guy. So I'm just curious. And I mean, he did it during the pandemic. It just happened. So
yeah,
I got to imagine he thinks it's a good idea. So we'll see.
Well, November 11th, this sucker is coming out.
Yeah. And for those who can't or aren't feeling like they want to go to a movie theater, it's going to drop on VOD the very next day.
Yep. So I am excited to watch it, and you're goddamn right. We'll be talking about it on this show.
Oh yeah. I may try to get to a theater for it. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I would like to. Yeah, I agree with that.
If not, I mean, I will be watching it the next day.
If not, you will wait one day.
Yeah.
I may go to theater or watch it 24 hours later.
I mean, it would just be cool to see it projected.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So that is, like I said, that's November 11th. And let's take another break and we'll talk some headlines. And we're back, Brian.
I like that wind up.
I've never done that. I was like, let's see where this ends up.
I was enjoying it as it was happening.
I was losing breath. It was a challenge.
It made me lean forward. I hope it did for everyone else too. Yeah.
I wanted to. It's been a couple weeks now. It's been almost a month now since Norm Macdonald passed away.
Wow, has it really?
Yeah, he September 14th. He died.
Wow. Okay. Time, man.
I know the time is passing in a really bizarre way at this moment in our life. But because of how we ended up breaking up our commentaries and our regular shows, we did not get a chance to stop and acknowledge his passing. And at least for me, I wanted to take a moment and reflect on someone who is, in my opinion, one of the greatest comedians who ever did the job.
Absolutely. I mean, he was, especially for people our age, I mean, he was a part of our formative years with SNL.
Yeah.
Right? His blunt, deadpan delivery, I'm sure wormed its way into our psyches and our senses of humor.
In so many ways. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Certainly for me, I think of my touchstones of comedy as being early, first 10 seasons of Simpsons, and Norm Macdonald hosting Weekend Update, and then things like Monty Python, etc. But as you say, I mean, Norm had this style of delivery that I just internalized to such an extent that it has informed how I construct jokes.
Right.
Without me even realizing it.
Sure.
It was only upon reflection I've occasionally looked back at when I'm joking around on this show, I'll be like, oh, that's a Norm joke.
Like
where it's
delivery.
Yeah, that's, and not to say I'm not in any way comparing myself to him, but just in terms of how I perceive, process, and produce humor is filtered through the Norm Macdonald prism.
Yeah.
And 60 years is just too young.
No, this was one that really knocked me over a little bit. Nobody apparently knew that he had been sick for coming up on almost a decade.
Almost 10 years, yeah.
Right? And so it was a shock at all to learn that he had even been sick, but then for him to pass like that, I mean, it was shocking. And yeah, he was someone that I didn't realize I was as emotionally tethered to as I was.
That's really, I mean, certainly when you look at the SNL Weekend Update anchors post Norm Macdonald, everybody is doing their own version of Norm Macdonald. Like he changed the trajectory, and there is something ironic about the fact that he was removed from that job.
Yeah, and isn't that so 90s punk rock? You know what I mean? When you think about it, it was like, it was cool to be anti-establishment. I don't know if anyone even cares about that anymore, but then it was cool. You got your bands smashing their instruments on stage and not wanting to sell out and bad-mouthing their labels, and that was cool. And that's what he was doing in his medium, right? He was telling the jokes the network repeatedly asked him not to tell.
That's right.
So it seemed cool to a teenager, especially,
well, and the funny thing about it is that he was, the backstory for those of you who may not know is he was anchoring SNL during the entirety of the OJ, kerfuffle. And so he was naturally making merry sport of the whole situation. And right. Don Ohlmeyer, who was head of NBC West Coast at the time, was friends with OJ, who we may remember. He was like a sports commentator at the time. Or not at the time, but pre-murder, before the murdering, he was doing that. And so he was like, hey, knock it off. That guy's a friend of mine. And Norm Macdonald's like, wait, you kidding me? The guy's he's a murderer, Right. And so he keeps doing the jokes, and then he gets removed from the job. And the ironic thing about this is, yeah, he got removed from the gig, and it sucks. And, to this day, I remember when he was removed from that job, they put in Colin Quinn. and Colin Quinn kind of did this thing where he's like, hey, I'm sure some of you have had this experience where you go to a bar and you've had this bartender who you love and you enjoy chatting with, and he's not there anymore, and then you got this new guy who's like, hey, I'm your new bartender, I'm Steve. It's like, well, I'm Steve, or something to that effect.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing very badly, but I had opportunity to talk to Colin Quinn a couple of years ago for the movie Trainwreck.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about that. I was like, that's one of my clearest memories, because I was one of those people who was like, hey, where's the old bartender?
Right.
And he told me, he's like, what else could I do?
Mm-hmm.
He was so good at it.
Right.
And I just kind of got moved in there. If you remember, I mean, he did it for about a year and a half. I don't remember how long. It wasn't that long, Colin Quinn. And then they brought in Tina Fey, et cetera. But he left this just indelible mark, and one of his greatest OJ jokes, and he had a ton.
Yeah.
I swear. He's talking about how Johnny Cochran put on OJ's hat.
Yeah.
Or what they alleged was OJ's hat while he was giving his closing argument that OJ couldn't have done it. And he says there was an awkward moment when OJ suddenly shouted, "Hey, be careful with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat."
Right. Which is hilarious and just a big middle finger.
Yeah.
That joke. You know what I mean? Like, especially knowing what he's been told.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this. He had this bit where he was on Conan's show. He was on Conan like all the time.
Yeah.
Right? But there was one where he tells the moth joke. Have you heard this?
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember seeing this like live when it happened.
Oh, funny.
And so, folks, if you're listening to this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, go to YouTube. Norm Macdonald moth joke Conan. That should pull it up. But he shows up there and he's like, oh, the setup is like, oh, when I was being driven here, the driver like told me this joke to say, and it's the joke about a moth that goes to see a podiatrist.
Right.
That's the setup.
Yeah.
So there is a setup and there is a punchline. But the genius of the joke is that what is normally setup, punchline, Norm decided, well, I'm going to find a way to squeeze in 7 minutes of content between the setup and the punchline.
Yeah.
And it's just a masterpiece of it's like you cast a reel and you're just slowly pulling the audience in as this thing just elaborates and gets more and more,
Yeah.
And the punchline is so stupid that it's ingenious.
That's it's short enough it could be printed on a popsicle stick, one of those sorts of jokes. But he turns it into this long Russian novel.
Yes.
It all works. It like makes it funnier when you get to the stupid obvious ending.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
and so that's worth looking up. And then he actually put out a stand-up album 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago, 2011. It's called Me Doing Stand-Up. And there's a routine on there, one of the bits. He's talking about news coverage, and specifically he's talking about how the news media reacts when a woman goes missing.
Oh, wow.
Right. And obviously we're talking about this in the wake of the whole Gabby Petito story and everything, right? Mm-hmm. And pull that up, give it a listen, and you will feel as if he is speaking to us right now from beyond the grave.
Wow.
And this is from 10 years ago,
Yeah.
So truly one of the most formative comedians in my life, without question, in terms of my notion of what is funny,
right?
Because of Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and it was funny. He got, he kept coming up with new things. I mean, even when Conan, did you see the bit? Like, it wasn't just deadpan delivery and those sorts of like sardonic sort of punchlines and stuff. It was that whole bit when Conan was leaving the Tonight Show. Did you see that?
That's right.
And he comes out with a gift basket and he's like, I've been meaning to give this to you. And it's like a welcome to the Tonight Show. You're going to do this forever sort of thing. Like,
what he says is, See, the joke is, oh yeah, I meant to give this to you like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, here's the card. It says, congratulations, Conan, on your appointment as permanent host of The Tonight Show. And then pause. That's something they can never take away from you.
Right.
And again, the beauty of it is you have to know how to deliver it because you got to know when to pause for the laugh, and then you come in with the killer right under,
Right.
So funny.
So good.
Famously, Norm Macdonald was one of the reasons Conan actually lost The Tonight Show. Because he was one of Conan's favorite guests.
Right.
And NBC was like, we don't want you having Norm Macdonald on there all the time. And Conan's like, look, he kills every time he comes on.
Yeah.
And NBC's like, basically, they're just like, stop like doing whatever you want, start listening to us. And so when it came time to sort of decide who got the gig, that was one of the factors.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And yet I'm sure Conan would agree too. Well, things worked out all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Norm Macdonald, R.I.P., a true comedic genius. I think if you have not had opportunity to hear some of his material, there's no shortage of it on YouTube, whether you're talking about old compilations of his Weekend Update stuff or his more recent stuff. Very, very funny.
Yeah.
That's all. We'll miss you, Norm.
Yep.
All right, Brian, let's talk about Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Well,
I should say this first, but this was a movie I was like gonna watch it anyway because like my kids are into that and whatever, and I was like, all right, we'll go. And afterwards, I had to tell Brian, hey, listen, Brian, you're sorry, but you got to go watch this.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this like the Dark Tower sort of territory, like where I felt like I did have my hands tied and. You know, like an old cowboy, like had a rifle to my back, forcing me over to the movie theater. But I probably would not have seen this otherwise. However, the first one, which I would call kind of a dumb movie,
yes,
I also kind of enjoyed.
Yeah,
like it was. I was surprised that I kind of enjoyed the first one. So I was like, oh well, you know what? I'd forgotten that there was something kind of wacky to the first one. So like, let's go see what this is all about. So it wasn't as bad, but it definitely probably would not have seen it in the theater if it weren't for this.
The first, okay. So let's look at the tape, the tail of the tape, so to speak. This is a massive hit.
Yeah.
As of 2 days ago, it has crossed $100 million in 5 days.
Incredible.
So it is, alongside Shang-Chi, it is the biggest hit of the pandemic era.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would be reason to celebrate pre-pandemic.
Correct.
90 million opening weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So people are like, I don't care about COVID. I don't care about my lungs liquefying or whatever the hell's going on. I need some Tom Hardy talking to CGI Tom Hardy action in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to me, honestly, I didn't hate it. I want to say that it feels too inconsequential to hate.
You know what? I agree with that. I didn't like it.
Yeah, let me put it this way.
But I'm not mad at it. Mad at it. If
this was anywhere nudging up against 2 hours, I would have been throwing shit at the screen. But I'm like, this thing is 90 minutes soaking wet. You know what? I was able to get in and out. There was daylight left in the day when I went and saw it.
Yeah, I would go so far as to call it a feature and a bug. Like it.
That's true.
I went with a friend, a mutual friend of ours, named Chad, and so at the opening 10 minutes, this movie almost feels like that version when you put a podcast on 1.5 speed. But like they have a song playing over it just so it actually feels like someone's pulling you along with like rope. So you're like, okay, no, I think I'm supposed to be like tracking with this, but it's going really fast and a lot is happening. And we literally turned and looked at each other at the same time and went, what is happening? But I think if you had made it go that same amount of content or information go any longer,
Yeah.
you would have not, you wouldn't have enjoyed it. So it kind of worked. It was crazy and noticeable, but it also probably made the movie more digestible.
I think that's fair. I think I said this in our, when we talked about the first movie, like 500 years ago, whenever that came out, how I'm like, I'm not the audience for Venom the way people younger than me are. Right.
Yes. I'm just going to add, yes, I agree. And I thought that while I was watching it, I was like, this just isn't for me.
Yeah.
So I hope this is like an awesome time for the fans.
That's it. Right. I can attest to the idea that there's people, say 10 years younger than us, who are like all about Venom. That is their sweet spot.
Sure.
And this is their guy. And I'm like, I know I said this. I'm like, my experience with Venom is he's a Spider-Man villain.
Right.
So I find Tom Hardy fun. Actually, here's what I'm going to say. The best stuff in the movie, in my opinion, is just Tom Hardy being freaking nuts.
Dude, he's like almost like Michael Keaton nuts.
Yes,
like
yes.
Sort of twitchy. He's kind of making me uncomfortable, but you can't look away. Kind of nuts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
I all the scenes that are Tom Hardy, I was going to say and Venom, but I mean it's just Tom Hardy by himself, basically, right? I was engaged. It was every time we shifted over to the Cletus Cassidy and all that stuff, it was boring.
Yeah.
And first of all, this movie's trying to tell us that Woody Harrelson was a teenager in 1997. Let's think about that for a second.
I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious.
But the issue I had with this movie was the same issue I had with the previous movie insofar as the third act, which is, it's one CGI monster versus another CGI monster, and it's just all this, tendrils and digital noise just going back and forth, and I don't care about any of it.
I had the same sort of feeling, and when they were in that church, which is funny, Chad was like, "This feels like the end of Beetlejuice." And I was like, yes,
kind of does. You're right.
It does. Francis is sort of up there like Lydia, and this. Yeah, it was. He was totally spot on. But yeah, when it did turn into the let's fight, I did have this feeling like, here we go. Was this like 15, 18 minutes now? So I like leaned back in my chair. But then I actually was like, no, like I want to not think like that. I want to give this a fair shake. My eyes tend to glaze over during those sorts of moments in movies. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm actually going to pay attention and really try to track this fight. And like Andy Serkis directed this. I'm curious. He obviously had a vision. Let's do this. And I think it's not one of the worst CGI VFX reels I've ever seen.
Sure.
But also I was like, to what end?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That was my issue. That's exactly
right.
Right.
Like, what does this matter to me? Like, what does this story matter to me? Like, halfway through the movie...
It'd be funny if you just got up in the middle of the theater and just started yelling that at the people around you.
So what
are you doing here? What's the point of any of this?
Yeah.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, and then you just see the guy coming with a walkie, like, yeah, I got him. Like, take me away.
You get dragged out. You will rue the day.
But no, halfway through the movie, I actually wondered what story were they excited to tell?
Okay.
Like what about this made them be like, we gotta do
interesting.
This.
That's so
and
interesting.
It's funny because I'm into the, I like the buddy aspect of this. I like Eddie and Venom. There's a lot of fun to be had with that. And even the whole sort of dark Venom through Cletus's blood, which I don't entirely understand because that was Venom's kid or something. I don't understand.
Right.
But and I was like, okay, great. And you know what I mean? Like what's the bigger story here that really, and sorry, this is another sort of, a leap, but it's the same feeling. Like you were talking earlier about The Negotiator.
Right.
And saying that it felt like this kind of crackerjack old school thriller sort of thing. And there was a moment I think it's in the first act, of Venom 2, and everything's going haywire, and Venom is fighting with Eddie, and he's throwing him around the room, and blah, 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 blah. And just without any sort of, are you following this? Isn't this crazy? Like, it happens so quickly, and all of a sudden, Eddie is just hanging off the side of a building answering a phone.
Right.
And it's just sort of like, yeah, no, he's on the side of the building now. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, whoa, dude, like, this is crazy. Right. Like, if you get him pissed off, like, he'll throw you off the side of a building and you've got to hang on. You know, like, it was just all the zaniness and craziness was so matter of fact that even the movie wasn't impressed with itself. You know, so then it was just like, well, I don't know if any of this is impressive, you know?
I think they don't want stakes that are in that direction.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't get, oh, here's Venom at a rave. Like,
which, by the way, I did enjoy.
Right. I mean, I think it's funny.
Yeah, I
right?
enjoyed that scene.
But you need Venom to be lovable, right?
Yes.
In order for that to work.
Right. So wait, so are you saying I've kind of forgotten their dynamic a little bit. And then you have this scene where Venom's trying to cheer him up by making him breakfast.
Right.
Which is just so manic. Chad actually turned to me and was like, I want it to stop.
That's true though. That little sequence there. And they do it in one shot.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it tends to go on, because there's no easy way to trim it.
It was unnerving.
Yeah.
But I actually did find it kind of funny. I
thought it was funny.
He's singing potato Venom.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and like making him breakfast and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. Like, I like some of the ingredients of all of this, but I feel like it didn't make a cake.
I don't know what else we can say, to be honest.
Well, just to call out more scenes, I mean, okay, I have a question.
Okay.
So, how was Carnage, is this comic accurate? I mean, like, Carnage is literally Venom, but mixed with someone else's blood, and it's mixed with the blood of a bad person. So is that why it creates like a bad shade of that symbiote or something?
Okay. So in the comic books, as we know, Eddie Brock is not a good guy. He's a bad guy.
Right.
So he's in jail. And his cellmate is one Cletus Cassidy. So at some point, he gets busted out of prison. I don't remember why. And the Venom symbiote reproduced asexually and left behind a little baby symbiote that was the Carnage alien, and that merged with Cletus Cassidy, and off we go. And my recollection, and this may have, I mean, I'm talking comics from 30 years ago. My recollection is that what made Carnage different is other than the red color, which that was another thing, by the way. In the film, I didn't like that Carnage was kind of like muddy. And I'm like, well, the comic book Carnage is very like stark crimson. And I would have liked that just because it would have made for an interesting visual, a little bit distinct, you know, from Venom. But Carnage is able to make like weapons out of the alien suit.
Right, which he kind of does, right? He shoots spikes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And make axes and things like that. And that's something that Venom does not have the ability to do in the comic. Because I can't remember if the movie, I don't know if the movie does, to be honest. But the other thing, and this is like just fanboy stuff, I'm like, Venom is the one with the tongue. Carnage does not have a tongue.
Oh, really?
And then they gave Carnage a tongue. I was like, what kind of crap is this?
That's
when I stood up in the theater and I started yelling at everybody. I was like, how do you tolerate this? You know?
Right.
They'll keep doing it. Don't you see? Anyway, that's like, I don't care about the tongue, but that's my recollection. Truly, Woody Harrelson felt utterly wasted in this movie.
I agree. Like, he could have used a better story. However, I don't think this movie would be this movie without Woody Harrelson.
Oh,
like
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, he brought a lot to that character. I mean, it was Woody Harrelson. Like, he wasn't even trying to not be Woody Harrelson, but like, I feel like it at least made that guy interesting.
That's you know what, that's fair, and I think that says something unfortunate about the script or the editing. I give credit to Tom Hardy. You know, he said in an interview, Tom Hardy is like all in on this franchise.
Oh, for sure.
He's like all the way, and who can blame him, right? Because he's clearly it's speaking to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So then you say, okay, well, am I just being like a snooty little so-and-so, you know, like looking down my nose at you know, the things that the mass audience likes? I don't know. I don't think I am.
No. Oh, you're asking me? No.
Come on. Give me some validation, Brian. Come on.
No, I mean, I already said it. Like, I'm glad this worked for the people it worked for.
That's totally where I'm at.
And maybe if I was like, had discovered this when I was a teenager or something, I would have thought it was awesome. But it's just not for me. It's just, and I know that, and like I'm comfortable with that. You know, like,
see, I went and watched it with my second kid, you know, and because I had watched the first one with him too, and I really.
Wait, how old is he? Just for context,
he is 12 going on 13.
Okay,
so bullseye. There's the audience,
right?
Like I remember being a kid and being really into like extreme heroes, you know.
Sure.
At that age, you know, like, oh, Punisher's so cool. You know, he kills people. That's awesome.
Right.
You sound like a friggin' sociopath, right? You know, and that's what comic books were like. It certainly, when I was 12 going on 13, that's what made comics cool. How much blood and female nudity can you cram into this thing?
Right.
The more violence and the more skin, the better. And so Venom emerged from that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he said in the movie, lethal protector, right?
Right.
And they almost make it a joke in the thing, which is pretty funny. But I remember when they swerved Venom into being an anti-hero. And so, you know, there's a whole generation of fans that have grown up with that.
Right.
That's their concept of the character. So as you say, like, okay, well, if that's your thing, then you got it.
Right.
Kudos.
You know what's funny is, I just walked out with absolutely no feeling for this movie and kind of relieved that it was over. And there were some chuckles along the way and whatnot, but it's funny because then I came back and Federica had never seen the first one and she thought it was a horror movie. And I started describing some of the comedy and she's like, what? Like, I explained when Venom was making him breakfast and stuff. And she's like, what is this movie? And so then I started like telling her the whole movie. And she was like, I kind of want to see this movie. So it was funny because I realized even as I was saying it back, it sounded more fun as I was retelling it than the experience I had watching it.
Right.
And so I don't know what to take from that. But yeah.
No, I think it's, as I said, like for me, it was 90 minutes in and out. So in that sense, I did not regret having spent the time. And as you said, there were many times when I laughed.
Yeah.
And it was usually during the Venom Eddie bickering.
Same.
I found their relationship amusing. But, well, by the way, we totally glossed over this. Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
It was ever a contractual obligation more apparent.
Right? There was a moment where she like leans forward, she cups her mouth. She's like, am I talking to Venom? And I was like, I would love to talk to her. And like, is this for her kids? Is she having a blast? Maybe she's having a blast.
Maybe she is.
You know, she gets to be Venom again. Spoiler, sorry. I don't know. I mean, she was a welcome presence. I'll say that. And like, yes. I enjoyed Mrs. Chen, the convenience store woman again.
Right.
All that stuff. Like she has this, you Venom, you know, kind of relationship with him, which I thought was kind of fun. And like, I don't know. Like even again, going back to the rave, it really made me laugh. Like, so
the context here, folks, is that Venom and Eddie are bickering because Eddie just wants to live his life. And Venom is like, well, I want to do my thing. This is like Felix and Oscar. These two.
Yes.
in one body. So Venom is like, you know what, screw you, and he leaves Eddie's body and off he goes. And for those of you who may not remember the first movie, the whole bit is that not everyone can host the symbiote, right? It's because it kills you.
Mm-hmm.
Except for whatever reason, Eddie Brock, he's got the magic touch. So Venom is basically jumping from host to host, and bodies keep dying, and he winds up at this rave in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
At which point he ends up being draped in the what are those called?
The glow stick.
Yeah, around his neck,
necklaces and stuff.
Exactly, and it's one of those scenes that I certainly did not want or expect, but after watching it, I was like, well, clearly I needed that.
Yeah. Well, it was fun to see him sort of like, yeah, yay me. It's good to be me. But then, he goes out in the alley and he's like, I miss Eddie. Like, and I was like, I like this movie. You know what I mean? Like, that stuff was really fun for me.
Yes. And then playing out in parallel, you have this whole thing with Cletus Cassidy becoming Carnage. You got Naomi Harris. There's another total waste of a character.
She looked cool. I liked what she was doing, but yeah, I didn't. None of that stuff really tracked with me. But
yeah, it's the problem I have with both of these movies to some extent is that it's very obvious what Sony's trying to do here, which is like just follow the MCU template.
Right? Sure.
The problem is, in my opinion, it's being built from weaker stock.
Mm-hmm.
Because, in my opinion, Venom is not particularly interesting enough to build a universe around.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong there. And I can certainly see a different version of this character. Well, there's a spoiler. I want to talk about this. Do we want to?
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, that's worth, yeah.
And almost, by the way, Brian, the spoiler thing, that's almost the only thing worth really like delving into.
Before I had seen the movie, I had seen so many posts about the end credit moment. Uh-huh. And so I was like, all right, here we go. What's this going to be?
Uh-huh. And were you scratching your head afterwards?
A little bit. Yeah. I had a theory, but then I was like, no, that's not right. So yeah. But yeah, right. Let's do the spoiler thing.
Yeah, let's do spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, let me tell you what my first interpretation of it.
Okay.
So basically,
do you want to explain what happens in case? Well, no. If anybody who's listening at this point already knows.
Yeah. We're at spoilers. So, and I'm going to back up even just a little bit further. The movie ends before the credits with Eddie and Venom on the run, and I, take this for what you will, but I was like, from what? Like I.
That's a good point.
I was like, why? Like, I didn't even entirely understand the antagonistic relationship between Eddie and that cop.
That's
Detective
right.
Mulligan. There was some animosity there that I wasn't quite tracking.
Well, it's related to the first movie, and if you don't remember the first one.
Yeah.
But he's not in the first movie, so he's like a new character. He is the end of the movie sets up that he's going to become some other character.
Right.
So that his whole purpose in this movie is to plant a seed for the third movie.
Right.
Basically.
Right. And by the way, just fun fact, Tom Hardy and Stephen Graham both played Al Capone.
That's right. Yeah. Stephen Graham in Boardwalk Empire, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was good.
Capone.
So anyway, they're on the run. I don't know quite why, but during the credits, we see them in a hotel room watching telenovelas, and Venom is like, you don't know the burden of having all of the universe's information and happenings and whatnot in my head like I do. And Eddie's like, well, share it with me. And he's like, well, okay. So he does, and there's a huge flash of light, and all of a sudden, we like pretty much smash cut to Tom Hardy being on the floor of the bed, and the lighting is different in the room.
And the whole room is different.
The whole room's different. And then on the television, we see J. Jonah Jameson talking about Peter Parker being Spider-Man.
Yes.
And so just because of the Spider-Man movie that's coming out this December, I thought, oh, was that Doctor Strange's,
That was my thought, too. I had the same exact thought.
See, but then what threw me was, so I had to look it up because I didn't remember. I was like, is he talking about Peter Parker being Spider-Man, or is he just talking about Spider-Man being a menace? Who is he? Because if he said, who is he, then it would be like, oh, well, that's the Doctor Strange.
No. It's Peter Parker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but the whole thing with Doctor Strange is that he's going to make everyone forget, right? That he's Peter Parker.
Oh, you're right. Wow, I didn't even think about that. Okay.
So that's why I was like, oh, that'd be awesome if that was setting up the next Spider-Man movie, but it doesn't seem to.
Well, no, hold on a second. We don't know the ultimate disposition of Doctor Strange's spell.
That is true.
Right? Because Peter, screws it up.
Right.
So that was my thought. I was like, when that, flash happens, is that the moment when Peter Parker screwed up that spell and we don't know what happened? But now, universes are merging together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. But we have Venom reacts to Peter Parker on the TV by going, that guy, and it his tongue licks the screen.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's a weird reaction, right?
right.
I mean, because why would he react that way? They have no relationship,
right.
So here's my thought.
Oh yeah,
I have thoughts.
Yeah.
Venom says, the shared knowledge that my species have across the universes.
Mm.
And I was thinking, what if, because the what's this, No Way Home Spider-Man, right? They bring back Molina, right, as Doc Ock. I'm like, what if there's picture this in Jeffrey Wright's voice. What if the Venom that fought Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in the third one, it has a shared consciousness across the multiverse with this Venom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so this Venom would have this sort of collective memory of in one universe, that guy, he killed the me from there.
Right.
Now, as I say this, I'm like, this is the type of thing that if a kid said this to me on the playground in fifth grade, I would have beat his ass.
Why?
Because I'd be like, get away from me, nerd. Because I'm a self-hating nerd. Right? I don't want people getting the impression that I'm into that stuff.
That's funny.
That nerd stuff. So I was working through some stuff. My point is, if that is in fact the backstory that they're ladling into all this, that is a lot. Just to get Venom and Spider-Man in the same movie.
It's funny. I'm having a funny reaction because you saying you have a lot to work through made me laugh, and also I totally am tracking with all of this, which is shocking. So it's I'm
going to beat your ass, then, nerd.
One of us.
But I'm just like, that is a lot of work to do, and I would offer, Brian, perhaps it is too much work to do.
Well, we're going to find out.
I guess we'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is, it's like people are like, oh, is Venom going to fight Spider-Man? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the wrong question. That's like saying, oh, is Joaquin Phoenix Joker going to fight Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Right.
And I'm like, well, I don't want that. Why do you want that? Let's question that for a little bit. Let's talk about the choices in your life that led you to wanting that.
You have strong feelings about this. It's so funny because I'm just shrugging my shoulders all right. Although I'm with you on the Joker Batman thing more than I have feelings about.
I don't have feelings. I don't really have. It's almost too much emotion given how I felt about this movie. But I am to me, you see the corporate string pulling a little too much.
Definitely.
That's my point. This is Sony trying to get all their toys in one box, and again, the Eddie Brock in these movies, he's like a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you have him fighting Spider-Man?
I don't know.
It doesn't make sense, Brian.
Do you think any of this is going to tie into No Way Home, or at least be referenced?
It sure feels like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Sony people are trying to set up the Sinister Six, of which Venom has been a member in at least one incarnation. So presumably he will be a part of that, or maybe this, as I'm talking to you, this occurs to me. Maybe they're setting him up to be an ally of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That would work. Then you don't have to. But see, it's the TV, the licking thing.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
That throws me off because I don't understand what that means.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't understand how John Travolta greets his family in Face Off either. So who knows? Who's to say? Maybe that's their way of saying hello.
Wait, what are you talking about? That I greet my family that way because of Face Off. Whenever I come home, the kids just line up, and I do like the thing where I put my hand, run it down their face. I just assumed, that's Face Off told me. Yeah. This is how a person greets their child.
So I was like, line up, kids.
Are you telling me John Woo lied to me, Brian?
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say this. I saw people online losing their minds over the end credit scene. Oh my, all caps. Oh, OMG.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm like, I don't know what you saw that prompted that reaction.
Yeah.
Because I'll reenact, Brian, I will reenact my reaction to that scene. Here we go. Ready? The light thing happens, and I'm like, huh. Scene.
Right.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was me a week ago yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know. It all comes back to what I said at the very beginning of this. I'm not mad at the movie.
I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, I was just like, all right. And then I left and probably won't think about it again and
ever again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I would say that it points to a flaw in your franchise filmmaking when the only point of real excitement is the implicit promise of what's coming next. And here's the problem, Brian. We've done this now twice with Venom.
Right.
Because the first one ends with, but the next one, there's going to be carnage. Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And then you watch the thing, and it's kind of a wet fart of a thing. And then at the end, you're like, oh, hey, it's next time something Spider-Man.
And that's such a good point, because going back to thinking about what were the filmmakers excited to tell with this movie.
Why doesn't Andy Serkis make this movie, Brian?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, and I know I'm going with a really, really high bar, but with The Dark Knight, and I think of that movie, and I think of the bank heist at the beginning, and I think about the Joker confronting those gangsters and taking over, and I think about the truck flip and that whole thing. I think about the interrogation scene, and there's just so much in there that's so juicy, and I just can watch it over and over, because not only are they cool to look at visually, but they make me feel stuff, and it all comes together to this really tense, exciting, thrilling story with the boats. I mean, that alone, it could be like a short film. It's so good, and I don't know why I would ever watch this movie again. It doesn't have any of that. It's just a couple of, bombastic moments, but it's like, what were they excited to do story-wise in this movie? And I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, but that's my question. I mean, Andy Serkis does not need to do this.
Unless he wanted, I forgot
what
the other
drew
movies
him.
He's done. I don't know if this is his way of doing some sort of big VFX movie. And
this is like a one for them movie, you're saying?
That or like, yeah, just, hey man, I did Venom. That did really well. Now let me make my whatever movie I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, you know what he's doing next? He's doing Animal Farm,
Oh, wow.
the Orwell movie,
Okay. Well,
the book. You know.
yeah.
But I was just thinking. I mean, if there was a question mark hanging over that, you have to imagine Venom's performance bought him Animal Farm.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. Apparently, Tom Hardy is like a big fan of Andy Serkis, and they'd wanted to work together on this, and so that's how this ended up happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I, if nothing else, I like the enthusiasm both have evinced in the junket.
Oh, I haven't seen any of it.
Yeah, I've been watching like the promo stuff, and Andy Serkis is great. I want him to be successful, God. He's Caesar, for goodness sake. So I'm glad that the movie's performing, but I have to be honest and say, yeah, I mean, it felt very dispensable, and I mean, I suppose you can make the argument that a lot of the MCU stuff is disposable, but I would push back on that as a point of comparison from this, in my opinion.
I agree with exactly what you just said. Like,
Yeah.
I can appreciate someone feeling that way, but I feel like I could make an argument for why, at least if you have half an interest in that universe, why each movie has some sort of compelling element to it.
Yeah.
You know? But
well, there we go. I
is.
think I don't know that we have anything more to say about this.
No, apologies to everyone who loved Venom.
If you did, you know, that's nice. God bless you.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Bless your heart. No, I'm just kidding. That's needlessly demeaning. I don't want to needlessly demean you. I want to needfully demean you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm reminded of, I've said this before, but it feels like everything that comes out now feels like it must satisfy everyone.
Yes.
And I think we go to movies now expecting to be satisfied no matter what it is, because all these movies try to please everyone. And like, I'm cool with there being a movie that doesn't please me, you know, like it doesn't all have to appeal to all of us.
Look at that. I that's all. Just look at that. Just look at that, people. Look at what you've done. Look at what you've done to Brian. You've broken this poor man. He doesn't care to be entertained anymore. Brian is rocking back and forth, tears streaming down his face. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, we'll be back in a week to talk about No Time to Die.
Oh, I can't wait.
So
I haven't seen it yet.
You have not seen it.
Nope. But I can't wait.
And are you still you are gonna try to watch the previous one, or are you? What's
at the very least, on your suggestion, Spectre?
Okay.
To get reacquainted and go right into this one.
There you go. And for those of you listening, if you have not seen it yet, I strongly encourage you to watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service as well, as that also ties in pretty heavily into this. But that's going to be our next episode.
Yeah.
And we'll have other stuff to talk about, I'm sure.
And then, you know, cut to next week. To what end?
Look at what you've done. I have many thoughts on No Time to Die. You know none of my thoughts.
No. I've seen that it has conjured thoughts with many people, and I have successfully avoided all of them. But
are you like Neo at the end of the Matrix? You're just like dodging all the spoilers.
Yeah, actually, I even just seeing people on posts, just like, well, I thought, and I'm like, you know,
refresh.
Yeah, I don't know anything.
Well, we'll be back soon to talk about that, and I'm sure we'll have other stuff to talk about. We'll find something to fill the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So with that, I will tie a little bow on this episode. A Venom symbiote bow that is red and black, because we can coexist. That's the message, right. Ultimately. Oh, that's the other thing, Brian. How are you going to kill off Carnage after all that buildup?
Yeah. And I was like, well, he can just eat him?
Yeah, that was weird to me. I was like, okay, well, that seemed not to justify all the buildup.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Maybe it's like a throwback to the days when you would just kill off the villains in movies. It feels like they don't do that as much anymore.
That's true. Yeah, good point.
Regardless, anyway, I don't, whatever. That's a thing that happened. And we're past spoilers, so who cares? That wraps up this episode of the Movie Film Show. What episode was it? 232.
That's right.
So that's a lot. One thing I want to encourage everybody is, all the comments that you send us are very nice. Thank you. And all the reviews that you post on Apple Podcasts are also very nice. But if you have any suggestions for future commentary tracks, please send them our way, because we do tend to take those into account. That enters our thought process.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for me online, you can find me on Twitter at Zacky's Corner. That's ZAKIS Corner. That's also my website, justadded.com. You can also find my writing at the San Francisco Chronicle and also at IGN. Look for my 20th anniversary salute to Smallville at IGN. This has been an exciting week for me, Brian. I earlier in the week, I talked to Al Gough and Miles Millar, who created Smallville.
Very cool.
I spent 45 minutes geeking out with them. And it was a lot of just me being like, remember that one episode? Remember when Clark, he wanted to fly, but he couldn't? Remember that? That was awesome. This is me. For 45 minutes just doing that. And then yesterday, Brian, I talked to Todd Helbing, who is the executive producer of Superman and Lois.
Oh, wow.
And just being like, remember on Smallville and Clark? remember? That was awesome.
Well, I mean, who better to be writing these articles than someone who not only is super versed in this stuff, but actually loves it?
I do.
You know? So, yeah, I can't wait to read them.
That's going to be a fun one. So check that out. And, what do you got? What's new in your life, Brian?
Just plugging away and Puppy Dog Pals as ever. New episodes dropping here and there all over the place on Disney Plus, Disney Junior, and Disney Channel.
Thank you again, everybody, for listening. We will be back soon with our No Time to Die discussion. But until then, on behalf of my partner, Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movie Film 232. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.